What's happening?
I bet you've already watched Alien 7 Romulus. If not, I must warn you, there are some spoiler ahead. Because today, we're diving into the universe of Alien Romulus and gearing up for what could be one of the most anticipated sequels in recent sci-fi horror history. If you thought part 1 was a wild ride, then buckle up, because we're about to explore what might be in store for us in part 2. In this video, we'll break down the latest hints from director Fede Alvarez, dive into potential storylines and characters, and unpack what fans are saying about where this chilling saga could go next. Whether you're a die-hard Xenomorph fan or just curious about the next big thing in sci-fi horror, we've got you covered. So, let's get into it and see what's lurking in the shadows of the Alien franchise's future. But first, let's take a quick look at what Alien Romulus Part 1 was about. It right away throws us back into the heart of Xenomorph horror. Set between Ridley Scott's Alien and James Cameron's Aliens, it sticks with the classic formula, but gives it a fresh twist. The story kicks off with a group of young colonists stuck on a gloomy mining planet. Life's tough, and they decide to hijack an old spaceship, Romulus, hoping to escape their boring lives. But surprise, the ship is far from deserted. We all expected that as well, right? Fede Alvarez, the director behind Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, brings his signature style here as well. The setting is a creepy, run-down Weyland-Yutani mining colony, filled with rust, fog, and dim lights. It's like the perfect recipe for a horror film, oppressive and immersive. The cast is pretty cool, too. Kaylee Spiney plays Rain, who's both tough and vulnerable, and David Johnson as Andy the android brings a mix of innocence and eeriness. Their dynamic adds some depth to the story. And the Xenomorphs, well, they're back in full force, and Alvarez doesn't hold back. The film is packed with intense, gory scenes that are designed to make you squirm. It's brutal, shocking, and it sets up the sequel for even more horror. So, now that we've had a taste of what Alien Romulus Part 1 brings to the table, let's dive into what's coming next. Fede Alvarez, who totally nailed the horror vibe in the first part, has given us some juicy hints about the sequel. Alvarez has been pretty open about his plans for Part 2. He's excited to explore where Rain and Andy's story might go, especially now that they're headed to Ivaga III, a new planet. Alvarez mentioned that he's all about following the story where it naturally leads. He doesn't want to rush into making the sequel just to meet a deadline. Instead, he wants to make sure that when the sequel comes out, it feels right and the audience really wants it. This approach is pretty smart because it gives the story time to develop and makes sure it's something fans are excited about. Overall, Alvarez seems to be setting the stage for a sequel that keeps the tension high and delivers on the horror front. It's clear he's got big plans, and we're all on the edge of our seats, waiting to see where this terrifying journey takes us next. With Fede Alvarez teasing some intriguing possibilities, it's fun to imagine where the story could go. First up, there's the new planet, Ivaga III. Rain and Andy are heading there, hoping for a fresh start, but it sounds like things won't be smooth sailing. The planet might be just as grim and dangerous as their old one, if not worse. This opens up a lot of potential for intense new challenges and creepy settings. Maybe Ivaga III has its own set of horrors, or maybe it's a hostile environment where our characters have to fight even harder to survive. Now, let's talk about the potential return of David. For those who remember Prometheus and Alien Covenant, David's story ended on a huge cliffhanger. He swapped places with Walter and had plans involving the Xenomorphs. Fans have been itching to see if this sequel will finally tie up his storyline. It could be epic if David shows up again, bringing his sinister plans into the mix and adding even more layers of terror. Another exciting angle is whether the sequel will introduce new characters or explore deeper into the ones we've already met. Rain and Andy's relationship is already pretty complex, so seeing how they handle the new threats on Ivaga III could be fascinating. Plus, the idea of new characters facing off against the Xenomorphs could add a fresh twist to the story. Overall, Romulus Part 2 has a lot of potential to shake things up. Whether it's the mysterious new planet, the return of old villains, or new faces in the mix, it looks like the sequel is set to keep the horror rolling and the tension high. can't wait to see what's next. Speaking of seeing, did you notice how many facehuggers and xenomorphs are in Alien Romulus? Where did all of them come from? How is it that there are so many of them lurking on board the Renaissance Research Station in Alien Romulus, and yet there are no eggs? Well, in the movie, Rook tells us a bit about how the facehuggers came to be. The Renaissance crew took the DNA from Big Chap, the xenomorph Ripley shot into space, and 3D printed the facehuggers. After their first run-in with these creatures, the crew hooks up what's left of the android Rook, who looks eerily like Ian Holm, to figure out what went down. The movie starts with the crew finding Big Chap, who survived and cocooned himself. They bring him on board so Weyland-Yutani can keep up their shady research. Rook explains they use Big Chap's DNA to whip up more facehuggers. Rook also fills the crew in on the origin of the mysterious black goo. The Renaissance team got the goo by extracting it from a specific stage in the xenomorph's life cycle, when the facehuggers mix in foreign DNA to create their offspring. This was a clever way to hint at where the engineers got the goo while keeping the aliens' origins mysterious. It also sidestepped any need to mess with the established hive life cycle, since both processes can exist side by side. Because they experimented on Big Chap and reverse engineered the xenomorph DNA, the Renaissance crew didn't need the usual eggs to create facehuggers and xenomorphs. The Renaissance station didn't just stop at reverse engineering the xenomorphs and creating a bunch of facehuggers. Things quickly spiraled out of control, and the xenomorphs ended up using the crew to grow their hive. When Rain and the others first arrive on the station, they're shocked to find the previous crew's bodies scattered around, brutally torn apart. It's likely these crew members were attacked by the facehuggers they created and had xenomorphs implanted in them. This would explain why there are so many full-grown xenomorphs lurking around the station, but that's not even the worst of it. When Rain, Tyler, and Andy venture into the hive to rescue a cocooned Kay, they find a bunch of other unlucky humans trapped in the nest. This suggests that some crew members were killed by the facehuggers, leading to a xenomorph swarm that wiped out the rest. In short, being part of the original Renaissance station crew was pretty much a nightmare. Another thing that we should keep in mind is that the vast station allowed Alien Romulus to combine the claustrophobia of Alien with the actions of aliens. Director Fede Alvarez nailed it with the xenomorph threats in Alien Romulus. By setting the movie on an isolated space station, he recaptured the eerie claustrophobia of Ridley Scott's original film. But because the station is so vast, Alvarez also got to tap into the blockbuster action and intense xenomorph battles reminiscent of James Cameron's Aliens. The massive size of the Renaissance station allowed for a mix of terrifying threats, from swarms of facehuggers to a sprawling xenomorph hive. All the backstory about the Renaissance crew experimenting with xenomorph DNA and the black goo really paid off in the end. Just when it seems like Alien Romulus is about to wrap up, Alvarez throws in a shocking fourth act, where Kay gives birth to a terrifying human-xenomorph hybrid called the Offspring, who then unleashes chaos on the survivors. Rook's detailed explanation about the xenomorph goo research might have felt a bit lengthy or unnecessary at first, but the payoff is totally worth it. If you're as excited as we are, drop your thoughts and theories in the comments below. What do you think will happen next? Will David make a comeback, or will Ivaga the Third hold its own surprises? Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, and subscribe for more updates and insights into your favorite movies. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.